Shabbat Shalom to those folks that are on YouTube with us. We haven't opened up our gates yet for our regular Shabbat morning service. So Rick's going to do a little bit of a noodling on his guitar to give us a little bit of music to keep us on top of things until people sign in. Shabbat Shalom, Miriam. Miriam, so nice to see you this morning. Shabbat Shalom. We're just waiting for a few moments for some people to sign in this morning.
Can you hear me now, Ron?
I can certainly hear you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I just want to tell you, I don't go to my own services, but I go to yours.
That's awesome. We love having you here.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Kenny sends me the link so I can be on.
We love that you come and join us.
I really enjoy very much you and the cantor and the rabbi. I really do.
And our buddy Rick is with us today too. Can you see Rick in the picture up there? He's going to be playing guitar. He's going to be singing a little bit.
Wow. We're having a real concert. Cool.
It's Shabbat Shirah. That's why.
That's right. That's right.
Tina, Shabbat Shalom. Good morning to you. You're on mute for right now.
Just got Eli taken care of.
I'm very happy to see that your electricity is back on and you're able to come on.
Me too, but wait till tomorrow.
Well, we'll see. I always cross my fingers and say, oh, I love a lot of snow when you don't have to go any place and the electricity and your heat stay on. Then all's good.
That's fine.
That is all good. It is a beautiful Shabbat morning. We are going to start our service this morning in just a few moments for those that perhaps are on YouTube and don't want to miss this opportunity for either schmoozing with us before we start our service or are joining us for our service. It once again is Shabbat Shirah, and Shabbat Shirah is near and dear to my heart for so many reasons. Number one, because of the Shirah, because of the music, because of the sounds. And my older son's bar mitzvah was on Shabbat Shirah, so that
nice.
Me back to
Mazel
the
tov.
amazingness.
Yes, nice.
Thank you, thank you. Fortunately, I will say my other son's bar mitzvah was for Mishpatim, which is where our Shabbaton will be this year in Shabbat Mishpatim. So I've kind of got my boys balanced on both sides this year.
That was my daughter's.
Which is kind of cool, which is pretty awesome. So it looks like we're getting a lineup of folks, and I'm happy to see that. So I'm going to ask all of you to go onto mute so Rick and I can begin the service. And keep in mind that each time Rick chants, he's like the congregation. Join in with him. So if we're doing a call and response, by all means, be a part of it. And one last word before we start. Marge Grayson, I see you hiding up there in your little box. I just want to thank you and Paul for the wonderful service that we had last night and you guys supporting and bringing such a wonderful group to us for us all to share on Shabbat Shirah.
It was great. Thank you, Ronnie.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I see we've got a group of participants here this morning in our sanctuary, which is your home or wherever you happen to be. And I'm going to pin Rick so that he can be pinned, and I'm going to pin me as well. And that way you can see both of us during the service if you're on Zoom. If you're on YouTube, you will only see the person or wherever the sound is coming from. So we'll begin this morning with a nigun, something to warm up your voice, something to make it clear, something to bring us home, something to bring us to this place where we can open our hearts for this amazing Shabbat. Yai da 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 ya da 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 yai da 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 ya da 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 yai da 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 ya da 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 yai da da yai da 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 yai da da ya da 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 yai da da yai da da ya da 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 yai da da yai da 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 yai da 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 ya da 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 yai da 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 ya da 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 yai da 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 ya da 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 yai da da. If you don't happen to have a Siddur in your hands, I'm going to paste the Siddur in our chat group. If you have any comments that you need to make to us, like, I can't hear you, you're not loud enough, or Shabbat Shalom that you'd like to wish to everyone, please use our chat judiciously, because as much as we're looking for a non-distraction, that chat is distracting, but it's a distraction in a good way, because then we can communicate with each other. Rick's going to begin the service as we begin on page 74 with Matovu.
Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkelotecha Yisrael. Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkelotecha Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov.
We continue our service on page 77. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware. We would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofecho basar umafli la'asot. Turn to page 78. Elohai nishama shenatata bi tehorahi. 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 We continue on page 80. And as we continue on page 80 with Nisim B'chol Yom, I'm going to bring Rick back to the screen with me. But I'd also like to put forward that as we do at our main service, not only do we have an opportunity to think about these Nisim B'chol Yom, these morning blessings, as traditionally looking at them, but I'm going to ask you to also have the opportunity, as Rick and I do our back and forth with the traditional ones, to put what you like to offer as a morning blessing in the chat. And when Rick and I come to the conclusion of this, I'll also chant those for all of us to hear those as well. Going to begin on page 80. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesevivina leachim ben yom uven laila.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kifufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzarei gavel.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten li'av koach.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavir sheinai me'enai, utenu mame afapai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, jasani bat chorin.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'gvura.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifarah.
And before we move into the final concluding bracha, I'm going to add the ones that we've had put into our chat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for electricity. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for blessing those who need cleansing, healing, and strengthening. And Rick, I have to tell you, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for you to be louder.
I'm trying.
That's all we can ever ask for. Turn to page 86 as we have this opportunity for the final closing piece of this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
move to page 88. Elu divarim she'ein lehem shior, sha'adam ochel perotehem ba'olam hazeh, ve'hakeren kayemet lo le'olam haba, ve'elu hen kibud avaim ugmilut chasadim ve'hashkamat beit hamidrash shacharit ve'arvit ve'haknasad orchim uvikur cholim ve'haknasad kala uvayatamet ve'yun tefillah ve'hava'at shalom bein adam lachavero ve'talmud Torah kineged kulam. We continue our service as we move to page 94. Baruch Shamar v'haya olam.
Baruch Hu,
Baruch Hu Severeshit.
Omer ve'oseh,
Baruch Ozer Hu Mekayem.
Baruch merachem al habriot,
Baruch Mirachem al Habriot.
Baruch meshalem sachar tov l'hireha,
Baruch Chaylad V'kayam LaNetzach.
Baruch poder matzil, Baruch shemo.
Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign, who is glorified through praise. Baruch Ata Adonai, Melech Mechula, Batishbachot. We move to page 96, and I think since Rick gets to pick his key for Mizmor Shir, you'll be able to hear him a lot better.
Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodo la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat, tov lehodo la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי אסור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בחינוך. שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך, ולזמר לשמך היום. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, מעשה ידיך ארני. מעשיך אדוני מאוד, עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך היום, ולזמר לשמך היום, ולזמר לשמך היום.
Ashrei Ashrei Veitecha, Od Yahalucha Selah.
Ashrei Am Shekach Lo, Ashrei Am Shadonai Elohav.
Tehillah LeDavid, Aromimcha Elohai HaMelech, Vavarcha Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed.
B'chol Yom Avachav, Halala Shimcha Le'olam Va'ed.
Gadol Adonai Umchulel Me'od, V'li Gdulato Ein Cheker.
Dor L'dor Yishabach Ma'asecha, Ugvurotecha Yagidu.
Adar kivod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
Ezuz nerotecha yomeru, uvizlatcha asaprena.
Zecher rav tuvcha yabihu, v'tzit kodcha yiranenu.
Chanun v'rachum Adonai, erech apayim ugdal chased.
Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol masav.
Yotucha Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yivarchucha.
Kevod malchutcha yomeru, ugvuratcha yedaberu.
L'hodia livnei adam gvurotav, v'chvod hadar malchuto.
Malchutcha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor vador.
Somech Adonai l'chol hanuflim, v'zokev l'chol hatfufim.
Einecho elecha yisaberu, v'ata noten lahem et ochlam bito.
Poteach et yadecha, u'maspia l'chol charatzon.
Tzadik Adonai bechol derachav, v'chasid bechol masav.
Karov Adonai l'chol korav, u'l'chol asher yikrahu ve'emetz.
Ritzon yireav ya'asev, ve'et shavatam yishma v'yoshihem.
Shomer Adonai et kol avav, v'et kol harishayim yashmihim.
Tehilat Adonai yidaber pi, vivarev kol basar, shem kodsho le'olam va'ed.
V'anachnu nivarech ya, me'atav yad olam. Hallelujah.
And so very appropriately, we turn to page 100 for Psalm 150, but appropriate in that this is Shirah. This is the day to sing. Let everything that makes sounds be glorious and sing.
Hallelujah. 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 Kia uzo. Hallelujah. 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 Take a shofar. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Never Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
We turn to page 106 as we rise if you're able. If you're not able, I know that you'll be rising on the inside. That put an end to the very beginning part, the warm-up of our service, and we now are at the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah v'yamad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechonu v'yamechonu v'chayedu kol beit Yisrael Bahagala uvizman kariv v'yimeru. Amen. Yehesh me rabba mevarach le'olam olam me'amaya yitbarach. Yiparak v'yishabach v'yibar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudasha brichu leila min kol birchata v'shirata dush bechata v'nechemata damiran v'yalama v'yimeru. Amen. Baruch et Adonai Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. Hold on 1 second. Turn to the page, the very next page that awakens us with the light in the morning, which is so amazing. We're thanking God for the creation of light and darkness because we all need a time to rest. And sometimes our rest is in the darkness, and sometimes our rest is in the day. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei choshech oseh shalom uvarei et hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvarei choshech oseh shalom uvarei et hakol. Oseh shalom uvarei et hakol.
We continue on page 112. Ava Rabbav Tanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gdola V'Tera Chametz Aleinu Avor Avotenu Ve'imotenu Shebatchu V'cha Shebatchu V'cha Shebatchu V'cha V'tlamdein Chukei Chayim Kein Techonenu Tlamdeinu Hamrachem Rachem Aleinu V'tein V'lebeinu Lehavin Lehaskil Lishmoa Le'ilmodu Le'lamdim Lishmor V'lasu Ulkayim et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha b'yadam Ve'ha'ereinu b'toratecha V'da'abek ve'enu b'mitzotecha Ve'yachenu le'vavenu Ve'ahava u'ira'at shemecha V'lo nevosh V'lo nikaleh V'lo nikasher le'olam va'ed Ki v'shem kol shecha hagadol hanora v'atanu nagila v'nismecha nagila v'nismecha v'yeshuatecha Avienu l'shalom ba'kamchot ha'aretz V'tovichenu k'miyot le'atzeinu Ki el po yeshut ata V'vanu b'chata V'kiramtanu l'shavcha gadol sela be'emet Ma'odot l'cha l'yechecha b'yahava Baruch atah Adonai Habocher be'amo Yisrael Be'ahava Shema Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. Page 118. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen. I am sorry. So we are moving into the Micha Mocha, but I just wanted to make a couple of comments before we indeed get into it. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning of this service, but this is the yahrzeit of Debbie Friedman. This is the Shabbat that she indeed passed away. And how more appropriate for the, I'm going to call her the queen of Judaic song, but as non-traditional song, to have brought so much music to us as a movement in the Reform movement, as well as all the other movements that now use her music as the key, as the strength that goes through our service. And the Micha Mocha that we are indeed going to do, indeed is the one that she wrote, as will the Misha Berach when we get to that as well. So if you'll follow with Rick on page 122, so I can get a quick drink and not choke, we're on for Micha Mocha.
כמוך באמונתו, כמוך גומר את המקום, נורא תהיל עוסק בנו, נורא תהיל עוסק בנו. שיר החדשה שיר חוגגים, לשבעה שפתיים, לך כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ייקום
You have that opportunity to rise again if you are able, page 122 at the very bottom. And then as we finish this section, I'm going to move directly into the Amidah, which is on the following pages. Once again, if you're not standing up, I know that you're standing on the inside with you. For Yisrael, Kuma be'esrat Yisrael, U'bechinu mecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael, Go aleinu, Adonai Tzivaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Adonai Sefatav Tiftach Ufi Tehillatech.
Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Tehillatech.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol V'Zocher Chazdei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'Neihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah Atagi bor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol ataharav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach umorid hakashem. Mechakel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verofer cholim, umatir asurim. Umekayem emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al givurot umido melach melech memit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol baruch ata Adonai Mechaye Hakol Nikadesh Shimcha Ba'olam Keshem Shemakdishim Oto B'Shmei Morom Kakatuv Ayad Nevi'echa V'kara Zeh Ve'amar Kadosh 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 Adonai Tzevot Meloch kol haaretz kevodo adir adirenu Adonai Adonenu ma'adir shimcha bechol haaretz baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo. Echadu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Hu Yashmienu, Berachamav Le'nei Kol Chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Sion, ledor vador. Alleluia. Ledor vador nagid god lacha, unetzach netzachim kedushach nagdish, v'shivcha chai Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush, Leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. We continue silently through the prayers in the Siddur on page 142, or those prayers that are in your heart. And when you are finished with your prayer, please be seated. Come out of our silent meditation together. Son, imrefi, Megyon libi lefanecha, Adonai suri, Adonai suri, Begoali. Ratson, imrefi, Megyon libi lefanecha, Adonai suri, Adonai suri, Begoali. So it's time for our Torah, Seder Kriyah HaTorah LeShabbat. And before we start, I'd just like to make mention that we're not together holding that Torah. We're not in our sanctuary. We're not with that availability to grab that scroll, bring it to us. But while we're home, we can bring it to us. And Rick is going to do a little bit of a study this morning, although he's going to study what comes right before I'm going to chant today. And so I just want to make mention that I'd like you to grab your hands together, hold them as if you're hugging that Torah, and we'll rise together. Hold on 2 seconds so we can rise. And we'll rise together as we can bring that Torah to us. And we will be on page 244. Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kemasecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Avarachamim etiv avirtzoncha et Zion. Tivnei chamot Yerushalayim, Tivnei chamot Yerushalayim. Ki v'cha levad bataknu, Melech Eram v'nisa Adon olamim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai merushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlul Adonai Yiti, Uneramima Shemo Yakdav. Please be seated. Rick, do you want to say anything before?
Sure, I would love to. This week's Torah portion, as Ronnie said, is all about the songs. The song of the sea, the Miriam leads the women in, and after Moses leads everyone in, and then the Deborah song, which is the song of victory when Deborah the judge, with Barak, defeated the armies of to save the Israelites. But really, what I sort of like in this Torah portion is some of the midrashim, some of the filling in the gaps, and in one in particular, and it has to do with what happened when the Israelites were sort of at the precipice of making a decision, with Pharaoh's army behind them and the sea in front of them. What happened? And looking at the Torah, the language it's used, and trying to figure out what we would do.
Good to go? Okay, here's the great part about today. Well, there's a lot of great parts about today. I'm going to share our screen because there's something pretty amazing about this Torah portion. It doesn't look like any other Torah portion. And the midrashim that I look at from a visual artist standpoint is that when I take a look at it, it could either looks like brick upon brick that the slaves were building the pyramids, or it could look, can you see with my arrow moving? Good. That this column here and this column here are the walls that are opening, and this section in the middle are the people that are going through. What you don't see on the first part at the top of this before the shear starts, the song, is a solid section of text. And I like to look at it that it goes from land to land, and that's the people walking through the water. Juxtaposed to this is the Torah portion, Ha'azinu, which also, it looks totally different and happens to be a song of sorts. And it happens to be Moses's dying song, where the two columns, this one and this one, are closer together, and there's only a little bit of space in the middle of them, because the people are going to be going from one part to the next, from this land to the promised land, and Moses isn't able to go. Therefore, he's not squeezed in that space. My midrash, who knows? Others midrashim, who knows? But I love that it looks totally different than the other Torah portions. I'm going to sing it as one kriyah, and I'd like to give the honor to Rick as doing the honor today for being called to Torah, for my buddy, for my friend, for my colleague, the master of music. So Rick not going to play on his guitar. He's going to sing. He's going to chant the bracha, and I will be the congregation in your place. So join me when we do it. Go for it, Rick. Rick, you're on mute.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Okay, so mute so that the folks can see the screen being shared on YouTube, and then come back when it's after. So here we go. You'll notice that what you're going to hear are some detours. Just like on a road, you have to go in a different direction. Okay, just like in the sea, you might have to make a little sidetrack, and the melody sounds different than it does from our regular Torah Shabbat morning. Az Yashir Moshe Uvenei Yisrael Et Hashira Zot Ladonai Vayomeru Lemor Hashira Ladonai Kiga Oga Susfirak Vorama Vayam O Zivizimrat Yavayili Lishua Ze'eli Ve'anvehu Elohei Aviva Aram Imenu Adonai Ish Milchama Adonai Shemo Markevo Paro V'chelo Yaram Vayam Umivchar Shalif Shav Tu Be'uve Yamsuf Tehomot Yechas Yumu Yardu Vim Solot Kimo Aven Yemin Chadonai Nedarim Bakoach Yemin Chadonai Tiratzo Yev Uvrov Geonecha Chasrov Kamecha Tishalach Aronecha Yochlemo Kakash Uvru Hachapecha Nermu Mayim Nitzvu Chimoner No Nozlim Kafe Utehomot Belev Yam Amar Oyev Erdofasi Gachalek Shalal Timla Emonavshi Ari Kabi Tori Shemo Yadi Nashafta Veruchacha Kisamo Yam Salalu Kaoferet Bamayim Adirim. Listen carefully. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, micha mocha nedar ba'kodesh, no ratihilot o sefele, natita yeminecha, tivla emo aretz, nachita v'chatzrecha amzuga alta, nehalta ve'ozecha el neve kodshecha. Shameu ami yirgazun chi achaz yoshvei belashet az nivchalu alufei edom elei moav yochazemo ra'ad namogu kol yoshvei Canaan Tipol alehem amata v'afachad bigdol zeroacha yidmu ka'aven ad yavor amecha Adonai ad yavor amzu kanita tivi emod v'tita emo behar nechalatecha machon l'shivtecha ba'al Adonai Mikdash Adonai konenu yadecha Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed kiva sus paro berichbo ufarashav bayam bayashev Adonai alehem et me hayam Uvnei Yisrael alchu vayabasha b'tof hayam vatikach Miriam hanvi'ah achot Aaron et hatof biadav vatetzena chol hanashim achareha b'tupim uvimcholot Vaitan lahem Miriam Shiru ladonai ki ga'oga'a sus v'rakvo Rama vayam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam natah b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. So I'm hoping that you heard the detours, those sections, specifically when I said listen, because there's Mi Chamocha right in the middle of it. And what I love about that is not only do we hear Torah in our service, like in V'ahavta, we hear Torah, but Mi Chamocha, that prayer that is so big to us. Why is it so big? Every holiday, it has a different tune to it that matches the Chagim, Pesach, Hanukkah, Sukkot, Shavuot. All of those make it different melodies for us. And this is where it comes from, right in the center as we, as a people, are marching through. We offer this opportunity right now while our Torah scroll is still with us, still out with us, that we can indeed say a Misha Berach for those in need of healing. And if you turn to page 253, you can see the text. I'm going to ask that you post those names of people that we need Misha Berach chanted for, this opportunity for us to do this prayer. This Debbie Friedman written prayer. And so many times had I been in her presence at a concert where she offered a Misha Berach, and this is what she always said: don't sing with me the first time. This one is for you. I'll sing it through the second time, and then you can join as well. But since you guys are on silence, you could sing right with me. After all, I'm not Debbie Friedman. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Limodenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. So I'd like to do a flip back. Let's put Torah away for right now. Let's flip to page, I'm sorry, 256. As in our hearts, we're placing that Torah back in the ark, but we're not finished yet because as Rick spoke about, we're definitely going to read a little Haftarah from the book of Judges, and then Rick is going to do a study. So we're on page 256. Eitz Chaim hi lemakazim ki ba v'tomcheha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha V'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kikedem. Turn back to page 254 if we're going to follow along with the Haftarah blessings, and I will share my screen with you so you can also see the text that I will be chanting. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar bin ve'im tovim Veratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael hamo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Vayam Adonai et Sisra ve'et kol harechem ve'et kol hamachaneh liv cherev lifnei varak vayered Sisra me'al hamerchava vayanos biraglav Uvarak Radaf Acharei HaRechev Ve'acharei HaMachaneh Ad Charoshet Hagoyim Vayipol Kol Machaneh Sisra Lefi Cherev Lo Nishar Ad Echad V'Sisra Nas Beraglav El Ohel Yael Eshet Chaver Hakeni Ki Shalom Ben Yavin Melech Hatzor Uven Beit Chaver Hakenim Vatetze Yair Likrat Sisra Vatomer Elav Surah Adoni Surah Elai Al Tira Vayasar Eleha Ha'ohela Vatichasehu Basmicha Vayomer Eleha Ashkinina Me'ad Mayim Ki Tzameti Vatiftach Ednod Echalav Vatashakehu V'tikachsehu Vayomer Eleha Amod petach ha'ohel v'haya im ish yavo ushelech ve'amar hayesh po ish ve'amart ayin. Vatikach Yael eshet hever et yitad ha'ohel vatasem et hamakevet vayada vatavo ela balat vatitka et hayated birakato vatitsna ba'aretz v'hu nirdam ya vaya'af vayamot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam tzur kol ha'olamim tzaddik b'kol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'oseh ha'medaber u'mekayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod ultifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mevarchim otach yitbarak shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. So I'm not sure if you understood what all of that was about, but I was pretty much chuckling, and I don't know if you could see me smile, that right in the middle of the Haftarah, Google decided she didn't understand what was going on. So I thought that was particularly sweet. I am turning my voice over to Rick now because Rick is going to lead us in a study.
Thanks, Ronnie. And again, Yasher Koach, to echo the comments in the chat. A beautiful job with the shir and for selecting something from the death of the nemesis of Deborah and Barak, which is beautiful. That's why a lot of little girls are named Yael nowadays, because of this Yael.
Nice.
Anyway, this is the portion, as I said before, where there's so much that happens, and it's called Bishalach. And Bishalach means, like in sending out, because the portion actually starts with Pharaoh sending out the Israelites, right? Like that conceptually, that sort of blew my mind when I looked at it. I thought it was like Moses casting out his hand, or no, it's Pharaoh sending out the Israelites, saying, "You guys can go," and they go. But like 3 verses later, Pharaoh realizes that his slaves are gone. Like, what am I going to do about this? And he begins to send his armies to chase after the Israelites. So there's this possibly 600,000 people, like moving along through the desert, and like not at a cheetah's pace, if you understand, like moving 600,000 people is probably moving like 10 cats. But the fact is that they're moving, and they're moving slowly, and they see the chariots behind them. So God sets up and protects them with a pillar of fire during the day, and during the night, and a pillar of cloud during the day. Like they're protected. They're buffered a little bit, because moving 600,000 people without chariots is slower than moving an army, don't know how many, with chariots and wheels. The wheel. All right, so we get to this point when the children of Israel come to the edge of the sea, and while the pillars of light and fire and cloud are still there, They see the raging sea in front of them. They hear the horses of Pharaoh's chariots, like not too far behind, and they're at this point. And what I found was interesting and really fascinating was the what the Torah says. Basically, Torah says that the children of Israel are like, "What are you doing to us here?" And God, and Moses says God is going to take care of us. And God says, Moses, put your staff over the water and the water will part. But then you hear the water parted. And I think this is so troublesome that there's some verses that basically scream, midrash me, like add something here because this is really sparse and really empty. So in an argument in the Talmud, in Tractate Sota, they're arguing who went first. They're arguing which tribe sent people first, who crossed first, who stepped in the water first. And again, if it's the case of they're trying to describe what they already know, that the tribe of Judah is the tribe that is the one in existence before the first temple was destroyed, that were called Jews because the Judeans were the ones who fought and were by the waters of Babylon, and came back. Like the Judea is why we're Jews today, Judaism. Well, the issue is that they needed to prove that Judah stepped up. So they say that a leader in the tribe of Judah named Nachshon ben Aminadav, springs forward and he goes into the sea first. Now, what's fascinating to me about this is that we don't know Nachshon ben Aminadav yet. We don't meet Nachshon ben Aminadav, I think, until like in the summer when we get to the book of Numbers, Sefer Bamidbar, when the beginning is a census and it names all the leaders. I know we hear Nachshon ben Aminadav's name in Deuteronomy when they're beginning to like circle the troops and realize who the leaders of all the tribes are. But we don't know this guy yet. But they felt it important that this guy was so important to put him to be that midrash that we all know. It's not in the Torah, but their explanation, these rabbis of the Talmud are saying he's going to be the one to take the step. And what I love about what the rabbis say about him, and I said this before, is that then sprang forth Nachshon, son of Aminadav, and he descended first into the sea. It didn't say he went down to the sea first. It didn't say like someone pushed him first. He jumps up to say, I'm going to do it. So to me, that reminds me of our Hineni pins, because we don't just walk into something that we're going to do. We're going to be there. We're going to do it. But it also makes me realize that when we put our zip into anything we do, we can change the world. In other words, if, again, by the Torah, we understand. Moses puts his hand out, the water parts, the children of Israel cross. But if that's not enough for you, and it wasn't for the Babylonian Talmud, if you needed to know who was the one who made that water split, and it was Nachshon ben Aminadav who springs up from his seat, and he springs up and he runs down there, and he's the first one. How easy it is to realize that if he didn't do that, maybe the water wouldn't split. And if the water didn't split, and I love when I get to say this, but if the water didn't split, maybe it's a really short Torah, because the Israelites go back to Egypt and they're going to be slaves, and we'd be slaves today. In other words, the Torah changes because one guy steps forward and jumps forward and moves forward with gusto. And that's what I want to sort of say, is that we don't know much about him at this point, but we know that he's the one who steps forward, and he steps forward with a spring in his step, and he makes a change that could have changed the Torah, and it changes the life of those Israelites. So how much could we do if we didn't overthink our issues and we stepped forward and jumped forward and made our decisions? How much more could we do? What could we do to make the world a better place if we didn't live in our heads so much and be indecisive? We need to take this message from the Talmud's commentary on the Song of the Sea, and before there can be a song, there's got to be someone who steps forward, says Hineni, jumps forward, and is that person to change. And think of all we can do if we can be that person on a regular basis. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rick. Thank you for those amazing words. I can only breathe. I find it amazing that our Hineni pin pops up in so many places, not only in your Devar this morning, and I had someone the other night that actually took a pin out and went like this and held it up as well. So, that is the first step. Step one is have a pin, but step one is to take that first step like Nachshon did. We move to the conclusion of our service on page 282. Once again, if you are able, please rise for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We move ahead to page 287. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad. If you like, you can be seated. You're turning to page 294. Our thoughts now turn to those who we love who have passed from life, as is the way of our people through our recitation of Kaddish. We honor their lives by praising God for letting us walk at their side and they at ours for even our little time. I invite you, if you're inclined at home, to stand if you individually hear the name of your loved one. And if you'd like to also add some names into the chat for those that we might be saying Kaddish for, and I will read the list in 2 seconds because I need to add someone to my list as well. These are the names for Yahrzeit for this Shabbat. Fred J. Balk, Rachel Behar, Blanche Bianco, Harry Burstein, William Kroberski, Rhonda Dolobowski, Norma Festa, Pauline Foreman, Saul Gerson, Richard Green, Helen Green, George Green, Wolf Hecker, James Hertzman, Jenny Jacobs, Alice Janilis, Jacob Kaplan, Harry Lefkowitz, Harry Levin, Hannah Leaf, Ruth London, Pearl Mandelbaum, Edith Mandel, Edwin Margolis, Stephen F. Markstein, Isidore Meshover, Irving Nam, David Neuwirth, Minnie Neuwirth, Lillian Para Feinstein, Louis Pasner, Edith Petschaft, Charles Rand, Leo Reitman, Gloria Rettig, Philip Rothman, Gene Skelly, Abraham Nathan Sokolow, Leo Steinbach, Anna Stone, Frank Stone, Florence H. Webster, Sarah Weinberg, Yetta Weiss, Sylvia Whitlin, Leonard Zombach. For those who are in Shiva and Shloshim periods of mourning, Anita Scherer Reiches, mother of Vicky Reiches Fox, Carol Lane, partner of Frank Myers and mother of Dari and Jacob Lichtman, Bob Sarlin, brother of Don Sarlin, Judy Kopp, mother of Dana Hudon, Gerald Sorrell, husband of Joyce Selter, Ann Feynman, grandmother of Merrill Gutterman, Tema Dorman Ackerman, mother of Rennie Ackerman, and the passing with Shiva information to follow of Barbara Spiro, one of our founding families in this congregation, and Raymond Gallant, father of Debbie Gallant. We're also waiting on Shiva information for that as well. So I ask you to rise if you would like to join us for Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lemei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Please be seated. I know that there are announcements to make. There are always tons of them, but you can follow them in the Yigaret. The only announcement that I'd like to make that personally has to do with me is our Shabbaton. And I ask that if you are planning to join us for our Shabbaton, you need to register. What is the Shabbaton going to offer for us? Our Shabbaton is going to give us morning yoga with Lisa Westreich. Yay, Lisa. That's at 9 o'clock. At 10:30, we will have a service, a tefillah, that will be jam-packed with amazingness. Why can I say that? Well, I've got 3 people that are chanting Torah. We've got groups of people that are doing an aliyah. We also have some haftarah. But the most important that I can say is our Devar Torah will be delivered by Rabbi Leon Morris, who is an amazing, amazing, amazing teacher. And he happens to be a classmate of Rick's, and you know, what else could that mean? And he is calling in from Jerusalem, which is kind of amazing as well. Shabbat will be over when he is going to be joining us. Shabbat for him will be over. And when I asked him to join us, I said, so what time is Shabbat over there? And what time will it be here? And he said, 11:30. I said, that is perfect. So he will be joining us. When services are over, you can go grab a bite of lunch, because if you register, you will also be able to get a PDF that will have some amazing recipes in it that we would have served that food at our Shabbaton. One of them, I will tell you, will be Rick's Challah and others. I will also say that there are 2 workshops in the afternoon, 2 sessions, I should say, blocks. From 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock, there are 7 workshops to pick from. Pick one, and then you're in. Have a little break for the afternoon, get up, go for a stroll, take a Shabbat nap, whatever you decide to do. And there's another block at 5 o'clock, from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And there are 8 workshops to select from that. One of them, I will tell you, is Rabbi Katz, but I'm not allowed to tell you who's doing which one. So you have to pick by topic. And then at 6:10, when we all gather back together, we will make Havdalah together. And it will be a pretty amazing Shabbaton. It's our first one done virtually. And what that means is I've brought in people, not just from our local area, to be some of our teachers. So for some people that might be Camp Harlemites, you're going to recognize that one of my friends, Rabbi Jack Paskoff, is going to be visiting with us, among others. So by all means, sign up fast. It's not like it's going quickly and you won't have a spot, but sign up so that I can get you the recipes so you can cook for that day too. Other than that, I know Norman is having a short story workshop on Thursday, coming soon. I can't remember the date. For some reason, I'm thinking it's February 10th. is Rosh Chodesh. You'll be also getting something with that. So have no fear, and you will get that in your Igeret. And for everything else, just look in your Igeret. Lastly, I can tell you our closing piece will not be necessarily in your Siddur. You won't need to take a look at it there because Rick and I had gotten together a number of weeks ago and we decided to do this. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'ed Nasa V'chepsa Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Yitlot HaKol Le'ado Imloch Torah והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור חבלי, בעת צרה, והוא נשיא, ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי, ביום אקרא, מנת כוסי, ביום אקרא, בידו אבקיד רוחי, ואשתן ביעירה, ואם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא, אדוני לי ולא יירא. I'll ask you to unmute yourselves, have an opportunity to say Shabbat Shalom to all, and by all means, have a great week, have a great Shabbat, have a great day.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Ronnie.
Rick, great
Thank you.
Ronnie, the Casual Minion crew, the Alpers, and Mike Laufer. Shabbat Shalom to all of you.
Nice.